Let's talk about something I think we've all felt. You know exactly what you need to do to change, but you just can't. It's a really common feeling, and you are definitely not alone. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into the surprising reason why just being self-aware isn't always enough to make real, lasting change happen.
You ever have that feeling? It's almost like you're watching a movie of your own life, right? And you know the script, you know all the lines, you can even see the not-so-great ending coming a mile away, but you feel totally powerless to change it. Does that sound at all familiar?
And this is the moment that is just so maddening. You have the big aha moment, you've connected all the dots, you finally get it, but you're still stuck doing the same thing over and over. It's an incredibly frustrating place to be. But stick with me, because we're about to look at a way out of that loop.
So what's going on here? Well, there's actually a name for this. Welcome to the awareness trap. It's this weird, counterintuitive place where the more you seem to know about your own issues, the more stuck you can feel. But what if there was a way to escape? Let's dive in.
You've basically become the world's leading expert on yourself. You can map out your patterns, you can name all your triggers, you can explain your reactions, your history, your inner states. You could probably write a book on it. You have a PhD in you. And yet, nothing actually changes. So what gives? What are we missing?
Okay, here's the core idea. Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to fix a leaky pipe with a hammer. You can have all the self-awareness in the world, you can understand why you're hitting it, you can analyze your feelings about hitting it, but you're not going to stop the leak. You're using the wrong tool. It's time to put down the hammer and pick up a wrench. And that wrench is something called structural awareness.
So, if self-awareness is the wrong tool, why doesn't it work? Why do our brilliant aha moments so often turn into oh no, not again moments? We need to take a closer look at the hidden limits of just having an insight.
You know, self-awareness is kind of like being a tourist in your own mind. You can walk around, you can observe the different sights, your thoughts, your emotions, your stories, but you don't really understand how the city is laid out, how the traffic flows, or where the power grid is. You're just seeing the content, not the system itself.
Now this is the absolute game changer. An insight just gives your system more information. It changes what the system knows. But that's like trying to fill a bucket by pouring water into a tiny thimble. To make a real difference, you don't need to pour more water, you need a bigger container. You have to change what the system can hold. So here's how it can backfire. You have a great new insight, but the underlying architecture, your mental operating system, is still the same. So this new insight just adds more data, more load, to a system that's already at capacity. It's like downloading a huge new app onto a phone that has zero storage space. It doesn't help, it just makes the phone crash, and you feel even more constrained than before.
Okay, so we've seen how insight by itself can actually make things worse. So what's the alternative? Well, it's time to shift our focus. We need to stop looking at the content of our minds and start looking at the container that's holding it all. Let's get into this powerful new kind of awareness.
In this slide right here, this is the whole shift in a nutshell. We move from asking, why do I feel this way, or why am I like this, to asking a totally different question. What is happening to the system that's producing this result? It's a huge change. You go from being the subject of the experiment to being the scientist observing it.
So, structural awareness is like becoming a mechanic for your own mind. You're not just staring at the warning lights on the dashboard anymore. You're popping open the hood and looking at the engine itself. You're looking at how things are connected, what parts are under stress, and what hidden constraints are causing the whole thing to run rough. You're looking at the conditions, not just the content.
All right, this all sounds pretty cool in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we go from just being a frustrated spectator in our own lives to being the architect? Let's talk about how to actually start seeing your own inner architecture.
Think of it like this. Your behavior is just the tip of the iceberg. It's the little bit that you can see above the water. But the real story, the real power, is the massive structure underneath the surface that's driving everything. Your behavior is the result of that structure, not the cause. And if you want to change the result, you have to work on the structure.
Yeah, we've all been here, haven't we? Stuck in that why loop. Why did I eat that? Why did I say that? Why am I procrastinating again? These questions aren't bad, but they tend to keep us looking backward, analyzing what already happened. It's time for a new set of questions.
Now, these questions are like a flashlight in a dark room. They're not about judgment, they're about diagnosis. Instead of why am I like this, it's what load is the system under right now? Or what's blocking the path forward? Or what threshold is being pushed too far? These are the questions that point you towards solutions, not just problems.
So when you start using this structure awareness, what's the big payoff? Well, it's a huge one. It lets you step out of the cycle of self-blame and gives you the power that comes from actually understanding how you work. Let's talk about moving from blame to a blueprint.
And this is the shift that changes everything. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" which is a question that's just loaded with judgment. And instead, you start asking, "What is this system responding to?" Suddenly, you're not flawed or broken. You're a complex system that is simply reacting to its environment and its own internal conditions.
Think about it. If your car started making a weird noise, you wouldn't get angry and call it a bad car, right? Of course not. You just see it as a mechanical problem that needs to be fixed. Well, the same thing is true for you. This isn't a moral issue about being a good or bad person. It's a mechanical issue about tuning up a system so it runs better.
So the real question to leave you with is this. What's one part of your inner architecture you can start to observe today? Not to judge it, but just to understand it. What's one small mechanical tweak you could make to build a more resilient system for yourself? The blueprint is in your hands. Now it's time to start building.